Live from CNN in Washington, this is Late Edition with Wolf Blitzer.
Welcome back to the second hour of Late Edition. This was another awful week for the U.S. economy. Thousands of layoffs were announced, and more industries are appealing to Washington for billions of dollars in bailouts. Clearly, there are going to be some tough choices facing members of Congress when they return to work this week. Let's get a preview of what we can expect. Joining us from our New York bureau, the Democratic Congressman Charlie Rangel. He's chairman of the powerful Ways and Means Committee. And here in Washington, Tennessee Republican Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. She serves on the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Thanks to both of you for coming in. Let me start with Congressman Rangel. We heard in the earlier hour of Late Edition, Congressman, that Carlos Gutierrez, the Commerce Secretary, speaking on behalf of the Bush administration, now says they support a bailout, if you will, of the auto industry, but only if the money comes from an existing legislation, $25 billion from some energy bill that passed last year that you'd have to reprogram, but doesn't come from that $700 billion bailout for the financial sector. Is this something you could deal with this week?
Just talking about it is some relief, because while the emphasis has been on bailing out the banks, we represent the people, and the banks seem pretty comfortable in trying to find out which way Secretary Paulson is going. But in terms of the people that are looking for jobs or losing their jobs, I think just discussing how we're going to handle General Motors and the 1 out of 10 jobs that will be lost if they go under is something we can talk about.
All right, let me play the clip for Marsha Blackburn, the Congresswoman. Here's what Carlos Gutierrez, speaking for the President, said on Late Edition in the last hour.
What we are proposing, and we have a solution. In the 2007 energy bill, there is a section 136, that made available $25 billion of loans for the auto industry so that they can retool for cars of the future, for fuel efficiency initiatives. That bill, that section can be reworded quite readily, and that money can be made available to auto companies that can prove that they are viable or that they have a plan for viability.
So all right, what do you think? You with the President on this one?
Well, I would have a lot of questions about this. You know, we hear a lot about bailing out Detroit, but for me it's also about Spring Hill, Tennessee. And I don't want any of my constituents to lose their job. I do have great concerns about just blanket bailouts. Now, what Secretary Gutierrez is talking about there is Section 136. That is of the 2007 energy bill that was passed. The money is there to take care of retooling to meet CAFE and energy efficiency standards. There was also money for R&D for next generation automobiles, the lithium-ion battery, things of that nature. And Wolf, we would have to look very carefully at that, because what we've been hearing from the auto industry is that they want not only that $25 billion fast-tracked to speed up that innovation, but they were wanting an additional $25 billion to handle their legacy costs.
Charlie Rangel, they'd probably like $100 billion if it were available. Why not? What do you think about this notion of at least letting them use that $25 billion to get themselves out of this financial mess they're in right now?
I'm suggesting that it could make a heck of a lot of sense to make certain that the automobile industry will be following a new track, that will be able to be competitive, that we're not talking more about the same thing. But I am so pleased that the administration has taken advantage of this one last week we have to talk about the safety and the opportunities of people who are employed.
Is it possible, you think, you know the legislative process better than anyone, Congressman Rangel, is it possible to pass this, what the administration wants, to retool, if you will, the $25 billion from the energy bill this week, pass it in the House, pass it in the Senate, let the President sign it into law? Can it be done this week?
It could be done. The problem that we have is still in the Senate. You recognize that we need 60 votes in order to stop a filibuster. It's been abundantly clear that the Republicans in the Senate have not been willing to consider anything in order to have this administration have some type of transition with the next one. So we won't be taking up anything unless we have agreement from the Senate that they're willing to pass something rather than give hopes to people and don't do anything at all. The president would have to agree about it.
You know, the Democrats control both sides of the Hill, and they can pass whatever they want to pass.
In the House, they can, but in the Senate, you need 60 votes to get through a filibuster.
True.
They don't have the 60, they have 51.
They don't. I think that what we need to do, being one that has voted against the bailouts, I think what we need to do is put everything on the table. We know that there are a lot of just-in-time suppliers and manufacturers that are around these auto plants. We need to look at suspending cap gains. We need to look at what would happen if we had sales tax deductibility, which we have in Tennessee. We deduct that from our federal income tax filing. What would happen if you were to deduct sales tax from everybody's federal income tax filing and give consumers an incentive to go buy?
Well, let's ask the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. He's responsible for writing tax laws in the United States. So what do you think of that idea, Congressman?
Any idea that's going to bring relief to the American people and instead of just the bank executives is something we should talk